Hello and welcome back, everybody. My name is Patriot and I'll be subbing in for the rest of the games this evening. But Crumbs, as always, is on the marathon here as we gear up. Game number 4, it is Golden Guardians Academy versus IMTA Academy.
It is going to be a really good game because both these teams have been improving in the second half of the split. So I think that Golden Guardians has actually started to play through the bottom lane, which is really impressive. And you can see there that these are their first game stats. You're like, okay, that's pretty good, right? 60%.
Yeah, that's all right.
40%. It's all right. But what happens later in their second games? Oh, my God, they got so good.
Yeah, it's been really cool to see like the Golden Guardian style not just stay the same, but get refined over the course of it. Like, I feel like I spent weeks complaining that like they always play through topside, but it turns out like the team as a whole has just done a really good job of, hey, we want to be a lane-focused, aggressive team that snowballs early game advantages, and they've just taken that and gotten even better at it, which is what you want from any team, you know? Have a style and improve at it.
And it's not like there were more wins or like a big discrepancy in wins and losses between the first 5 and second 5. Like, they were actually pretty close. There was only a 1-game difference there. So they looked good. And on the other hand, well, Immortals just look completely different because they are different. It's a new team. This is the LCS team that started. And their first 5 games with the current LCS team looks pretty bad, right?
It's interesting because like their gold lead at 10 is really bad, but they're actually getting leads a decent amount of time. Like, games aren't really close. Like, they're very feast or famine with this team. They're down early and often, but usually they're ahead for a lot of the game or behind for a lot of the game, and there's not much variation. But when you look at IMT now, it's like a completely different team, which, as you said, it is a completely different team. So that's kind of the story, but we'll get into more of that later as it is time for Champion Select. Graves is going to be the banaway first off. No surprises there. Certainly a potluck champion and, in general, still among the strongest junglers.
Especially with the Ignite Graves change. Well, not change, but the trend that has happened that people are starting to take this to just bully out players even more. And when you see that the main team runs it right now with how convoluted the players have become between bouncing around between LCS and Academy, you can bet your bottom dollar that if someone runs it in LCS, the Academy team knows about it or is capable of doing it as well. So the Graves Ignite, seeing it from McSmithy, should tell you Pollock definitely can run that. And if we don't want to play something that runs into that well, maybe even a Kindred, or even deal with it at all, just ban it and play a very stable game 1, which luckily for us, Pastry, we are not going to see Ezreal this game. It's the first time it's banned.
That's true, actually. It's kind of risen in the ranks with Varus falling off on 10-14. Certainly Ashe still jumps to mind as far as strong ADs go. Kalista's been pretty popular, although she's banned as well in this game. And Aphelios is also noticeably absent from games today, which has been kind of interesting. But it is first pick Twisted Fate. This is something that not every team plays, but the teams that play it will almost always prioritize it, because if you can play this champion as a team, it is unbelievably powerful.
This is what they played when they actually were playing around Keith in that game where they just had a crushing victory from the bottom lane. But I thought that actually Ashe might have been an even bigger priority considering how well they played with it. But the TF does give you a ton more options. You can flip the switch and go back to playing around Zion. But you'll actually be dealing with a pretty difficult composition that could focus your bottom lane big time. The Ashe and the Volibear will have no trouble pouncing on an Aphelios if that's what you're going for, since Ashe can kite you away, and then the engage comes in through. Although the nerfs on 10-14 were to jungle Volibear specifically. Yeah, it's going to hurt the lane Volibear, but the sustain of jungle Volley is what got hurt.
Yeah, it's actually it's a really cool patch, just as far as like the scope of changes touching quite a lot of pro picks. Like, it's also minor changes, but we know that this level Crumbs, it really doesn't take much to move champions. Like, Varus got hit with another round of nerfs, and to be fair, they were fairly heavy, I would say, but like, he's dropped off the face of the planet. It feels like at this point, nobody wants to play that champion anymore. This is the champion I would like to see played again. Also received buffs on this patch, Crumbs. In fact, a buff so strong, but this is patch 10-14. I believe this buff comes all the way from when they changed it in 3.13. Which is an awfully long time ago.
3.13 meaning Season 3.
Yes, 14. Season 3.
Wow.
For 7 years, and now Zed's finally back to where he used to be.
It can be good against TF, and you have a ton of physical damage right now, so it might be hard to pull off, but Zed is making waves in solo queue non-stop right now, so I would not be surprised to see him be taken up this weekend or even in today's games. This one maybe not so much. We still have one more to go, but you need a very skilled Zed player, and with all the Azir that keeps coming around, I think that might be the matchup to see it. Because against TF, yes, you can play it, but TF has such a strong wave clear right now. His itemization can also be super flexible in dealing with heavy physical damage, that if you don't have an incredibly clean Zed that knows the matchup in and out, TF will just be able to stun you when you go in, and suddenly you look like a fool.
Yeah, you don't want to let TF run away with the game in general, because like you said, he's just so good at playing to the map. So generally, if TF's doing well, the problem isn't that TF's ahead, it's that the entire team is ahead, because he's so good at snowballing your side lanes. So we'll certainly see how the Golden Guardians' first picks work out. Nautilus, though, was the final pick in Phase 1 for IMTA Academy. So Kindred, Aatrox, and Ornn have all been banned away now. So a little bit of jungle and some top laners being taken out of the pool as well.
Quite interesting to see that the Kindred is getting banned here, because yes, it's a strong combination when you go with your Twisted Fate. You're going to have a very strong 2v2 here, but there's still some other junglers that I think Golden Guardians might be thinking about, like the Kazakhs that we've seen 2 games already. Nidalee is still possible. It's a pretty strong combination there with the rest of the comp. Now, the big thing here for Golden Guardians is the Karma, because it kind of doesn't work too well with the Twisted Fate and setting your lanes up. And the Twisted Fate is now going to be going up against the Sylas. This is a matchup that has taken some ground or some air in LCK, going fleet footwork for extra sustain, no more Conqueror, and you can take his port and also be a TF yourself. So
yeah,
1 TF, 2 TFs.
That's actually awesome. I was about to be like, I love the Galio ban because you're trying to protect the global power that your TF has, and IMTA like, nah, just steal it. It's all good. We can be Twisted Fate too. Is Set and Gangplank are going to be the last 2 picks there for jungle and top lane. But Sylas is the champion that I feel like does not get enough respect, and I'm glad to see him here. Certainly in this matchup, that I think has a lot of potential functionality. Also, the Yorick being flashed here. Not sure if IMT will actually pick it. That was a specialty of Alorum, of course, the current LCS top laner for Immortals. But it does seem like didn't take... okay, never mind. We're not going to talk about Sejuani today. It's Cho'Gath instead.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Immortals Academy. Was not ready for seeing the Sejuani again. We can still hold our breath and know that she's coming. But at least the show is a lot more exciting, and it's one of SOAS's best champions, actually. He's been playing this for quite some time, taking it up into the GP. Yeah, the early, it kind of sucks against them, and you can be abused by a Twisted Fate, but once you get your itemization and your HP stacking, there's really not much that Gangplank can do, and you can truly put the hurt on a lot of these melee champions that will have to get in your face. You just yell at them, they're silenced, and they can't do anything.
Yeah, this is actually a champion that SOAS has a decent amount of experience on, so kind of excited to see how that matches up. Not a champion we actually see all that often, but again, a really cool draft. It's actually been great to watch today. Just in general, how many different champions teams are willing to play. I know that like Sejuani is on the other list of champions that we don't want to see that did receive changes in 10-14, but certainly is a champion that lots of players I'm sure are thinking about.
I think the exciting one for me is the Sylas. I think this champion is just such a fun champ to play. You have every game being a little bit different, and you've got a ton of cool ultimates that you can steal as well. You can have the TF, you can have the Gangplank ultimate as well. So you got AP, you got some art, some magic penetration. Hey, pop that GP ult and see where it goes. So I think that Immortals can definitely do a lot of work here, and if they win here, they'll put themselves tied with C9 for second place, which is just bonkers to think of from how they started.
Yep, certainly a lot on the line, but we are going to see how it unfolds in just a few moments. As a reminder, we'll be throwing to a quick break to build up some delay, but on a return, it is Game 4, all yours. Welcome back. We're ready to jump ourselves into game. It is going to be a fun one here. Another great draft here, like we mentioned before the break there, Crumbs. IMTA versus GG with no Kazik, sadly, but still plenty of fun picks to talk about.
Absolutely, and the implications here are big because Immortals, like we stated earlier before the break, a win here keeps them in second place, which is ridiculous to think that this team that just started both organizations, you're like, who's going to stay, what's going on? And then the team that was in the LCS can get to come here and say, hey, we can actually crush here as well. So at the end of the split, Immortals might just end up with two really solid rosters that competed well in both leagues, which is not how anybody expected this season to go. And on the flip side, Golden Guardians, the steady improvement here is a really positive sign for them. They took a lot of early losses, but a win here will not only cement them as a contender, but also give them a really good confidence boost.
I think it's actually extra important for Guardians Academy when you consider their year as a whole. It's kind of the inverse, right? That they started off doing decently, now they're doing even better. Whereas Spring was like, they started off doing really well, and then by the end of it fell off and just barely missed the cutoff for playoffs. So this is definitely a team that wants to, go further, wants to prove that they can be among the best teams in Academy. And I think that they've shown, the correct progression this time.
It always feels much better to start slow and finish, or fast. No, start poorly and finish greatly, because you have that in the back of your head, in your mind. It's almost like running a marathon, and you're like, okay, we'll run slow at the beginning, and then you just sprint at the very end, and you always feel like you gave it your all. Whereas if you gave it your all at the start and finish poorly, you feel like, I should have paced myself better. I didn't give it my all, because that's not the note that you finish. So always finish on a high note is the moral of the story here.
Yep. Ultimately, your goal is to win the split. In order to do that, you have to make it through the entire regular season, make it to playoffs, make it all the way to the finals, and then win, which is a lot of League of Legends between I started the summer and we finished the champions. So certainly a long road ahead for all of these teams, but Golden Guardians, I think, among the teams that could be contending, like you said, for those top spots, but up against, surprisingly, one of the top teams as well. So Immortals been kind of a cool organization to track between the two leagues. I'm actually just generally happy that Academy seems like it's getting like the most use it's ever gotten between this and the LCS. Like, I think teams have started to realize, like, wait a second, we have like literally a full bench of players that play full time. Like, maybe we can bring them in sometime.
It started trickling, right? You started with organizations being like, okay, these guys are doing it. Oh, wait, they look pretty good. And these other guys did it too. Hey, they look pretty good. And say, can we do that? Do we have the ability to do that? Somebody says, yeah, we got a team. We got an Academy team. We've got some players. We could try that. And then they go for it. And so far, all the stories have been positive. Except Hard.
This one,
start dying.
Face check, and the Nautilus would force the flash away. He's going to be okay. Yeah, looks like he's fine. Totally fine. Don't get queued by Cho'Gath. Red card there for a Blaze Olive. He's going to slow the score down. Potluck also getting interrupted there by Chime on the Karma. So no first blood, but no flash either.
Well, at least you got Set's flash, but with Hex flash, he's not too bummed out about that. There's a lot of playmaking that he can still go with that play, especially if he gets to hide in brushes and gank. And somebody like Soas would be a perfect target for that kind of play. So let's see if he is effective, because it actually ends up hurting Potluck more than anybody else. He's low. They found vision into his jungle. Immortals didn't actually get to ward anything, so he had his W, his healing, nerfed as well. So somehow, if Golden Guardians doesn't actually take any fights and isn't too phased out by Hard not being able to flash into playmake, it's a win for Golden Guardians.
Yeah, you can actually see a leash for Alta King Gate there. As a result, wanting to make sure Potluck had a decent start to the jungle where Hard can just start solo and be fine despite having no flash. Chime did poke in there, and he has the blue buff.
Oh, no.
So I'm going to do a little bit of detective work and say that Chime managed to steal that. Yeah, Potluck's level 1. That's exactly what happened.
Jeez. Oh, that sucks. That really hurts, Ryan. See, they did not expect that Golden Guardians would have actually placed a ward back there, and now Potluck has to bait after only doing Gromp. Yep, I'm going to call it. I called it earlier. Level 1 was a win for Golden Guardians. They actually were able to get something from that, and now they get to counter jungle.
This is gross.
This is brutal.
Yeah, this is absolutely brutal here. Blaze Olive, is he even going to get it? No, he's just helping here. Going to make sure Hard maintains his lead in the jungle. Level 3 already for the set. And that's with only Hex Flash. But he can get out over the wall if he really needed to right now. Potluck, though, he's going to walk in and be like, uh-oh, where's all my stuff, Crumbs?
Oh, and he pops the control ward there, too. So why that's important is because now, if you're Potluck, you're thinking, I need to get a crab, right? I'm trying to focus and make sure that I can have one crab. It's going to be really valuable. But putting the control ward there does not help that at all. That control ward only protects the next iteration of red buffs, which is going to be so far down the line. Hard has a really good opportunity there to mess with Potluck even more, double buff him, or triple buff him, and double crab him.
Oh, that's really scary. Ooh, pulls him back as well. Gold card is good. W poke with the wild cards is almost enough to take down Acre, but he'll just flash out to safety. Still extremely efficient pressure from this set and TF combo.
Oh, he
got that too. Oh boy.
White flag at Potluck. White flag. Maybe he'll listen and say, all right, okay, I won't counter jungle you anymore.
You know, Crumbs, if we make enough noise, I think when you type insult to injury in Google and try and figure out what the definition is, I'll just play the first 4 minutes of this game, because that's what's been happening to Potluck. Ever since they got Hard's Flash at level 1, it has just been, like, brutal setback after brutal setback.
The poor bear. Yeah, definition of insult to injury. And he doesn't even get to go for the top crab, right? The top lane and mid of Golden Guardian is based, but Potluck path to the bottom side, so this gives Hard even more time. He hasn't even touched this red side of the jungle yet. It's not a power farmer. He just gets to abuse Volibear and just be more useful.
Yeah, he's actually just going back right now. Doesn't even bother clearing the rest of that side. He knows he's got plenty of time to do so, so already has the red smite ready to go. Make him a lot more combat efficient if he does run into Volibear or someone else again. Keith and Chime in the meantime have been shoving very nicely here in the 2v2. I guess with a bit of range support from Karma, you can navigate even these Ashe lanes pretty nicely.
And knowing that there's no help coming for Immortals side,
that's true too.
Golden Guardians' bot gets to abuse it even more. Remember, they started with that blue, which just was such a living nightmare for Altic and Gate, who don't have any way to TP back into this lane, so they're just trying to hold on for dear life. It started with the shield, it's what you're running against a poke lane, and here comes a flash gank onto Soa.
Surprise! Hex flash it in. Soa's going to be forced to run. The barrel can't connect, but still the face breaker. They look like max range. See you later. So that's first blood over to Zion Spartan.
Whoa, this is such a rough early game for IMT. Every lane pushed in. Every matchup is just winning for Golden Guardians. And then the jungler can't help. Now they get double crab. It's it looks like they're going to go on to Soas again. It's going to be another Hex Flash.
Yep, it just zooms in, Nimbus cloaks, and Soa's like, get out of my lane. Hard's just going to get pull his Potluck. I'm not sure what he can do, but he's going to try. The mini-wave's pretty big. Hard there with the Haymaker charge up. He's going to have to use it. TP, no! Oh. Zion takes down Potluck. Oh my goodness, it's such a tragedy. And now plays, are you going to solo kill Akid? That would be just flash. Yeah, he's going. Order? He's got it. He's going to die, but he made it look cool.
It's worth. The wave is crashing, right? So now TF gets the kill and denies all that CS. Are they going to go pick on Soas again? Okay, no. He's fine. The wave should be pushing back towards him, so he's going to be able to crash this and cash all that gold in later. We're going to see how this one played out. This is actually the first one because there's a big wave crashing, and Soas does not suspect that the set is going to be right here. And that is the biggest mistake because the set can be anywhere. Because Volibear is nowhere. He's relegated to just taking whatever set can give him. He really is the lord of the pit in this game.
Yeah, and then just the easiest regank of Hard's life. He didn't even move from the control ward originally. And then Potluck is like, oh, I can help my top laner. This is perfect.
It looked fine, right? It's like, okay, well, turning here right into the Haymaker, right? He sees the Haymaker. This is the classic case of somebody saying, I didn't punch him. He put his fist, he put his face next to my fist. And that's kind of what Potluck just did.
Yeah, that's fair. He's going to go mid lane here, but it's all no flash from earlier. That's a really good gank here, and that'll be a kill. Surely Acre going to steal the TF ult, and that's not enough. That doesn't do damage.
Wow, the stun was huge.
Here he comes. Sorry, Hard's like a walking jump scare right now in this Hex Flash set. But
really
wow,
good fingers there on a Blaze Olive to be able to pull out that gold card right away, because that saved his life. And now he just gets to heal back up, get that catalyst proc, and maybe even help out hard with the dragon timing. So the fact that you crash that wave and don't have to base does give Hard the opportunity to go for this, and spot lane is shoved in as well.
I mean, what's Potluck going to do? Hard's level 6, Crumbs. Potluck's level 4. Now level 5. But, like, it's just so hard right now, given the jungle start the Hard has had. So Golden Guardians with the perma pushing bot lane, because forgot about the part where Karma got blue buff at level 1. It's going to be an easy take as well for this dragon. But,
the positive for Potluck is that he actually was able to take 3 of the Krugs, so you're hoping that the levels stack up on them and they're a little bit more XP and gold, so that's kind of what's allowed him to stay in this so far, but he's just been tracked the whole game, so you're just not getting any value out of being able to surprise the enemy. They know exactly where you're at, what your routes can be, who you can gank, and it only gets harder from here on out because now there's a Gangplank ultimate that can assist the other parts of the map.
you can also see that I think Blaze Olive has gone and shopped recently. He's got Swifties actually, so definitely putting an emphasis on the roaming power of Twisted Fate. Not minding so much about needing combat stats for his 1v1.
Movement speed is probably the best stat for Twisted Fate, whether it's coming in from a Lich Bane, from your Swifty. Just being able to be really fast just allows you to actually get that gold card in and get out right away, because that's the biggest danger for you. When you are in range of getting the gold card and somebody can counter engage on you, but like a Nautilus hook that comes out, or an Ash arrow, or even a Silas that can just stagger hit E and catch onto you. So MS, both playmaking and defensive 2 out of him, and it should keep him relatively safe, especially against somebody like an Ash that, as long as you dodge the arrow, the slows won't mean much.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen like Twin Shadows in the past from Twisted Fate, right? Which is kind of the inverse of that idea. It slows the opponents and tracks them so you can chase after them. It also speeds you up as well a little bit with some innate movement speed. But I mean, I remember taking movement speed quints back in the day, Crumbs, which is a very long time ago now. So certainly movement speed has always been one of Twisted Fate's finest weapons.
Those were the days. MS Quints. Oh, I had
the candy cane ones. I was super extra. They didn't do anything different. They just looked cool.
I think the only special thing I had about runes is that I had a page that had more than 9 of a certain type, because or they put a limit on them because you could only have 9 of a time. You could actually just buy more than your share. So you could say, look, I got 10, I got an extra, nobody else does. And then they took them away, so it no longer was a collectible kind of thing.
Good hook there onto Keith. But Chime going to turn around with the tether, and that's a forced ulti out. But there's the depth charge as well to turn it back around onto Chime. He's going to have to flash, but L-Tech will follow. And Keith missed that ulti. He still gets the kill. That play could have looked so much better as Gate is the only survivor here in the 2v2.
It looked like both bot laners weren't entirely sure if they were going to commit to the player. And then it's like, okay, maybe we can poke, maybe we cannot. But once the commitment went out, it really looked like the Ashe focus fire was just so powerful there, and the Gangplank ultimate came a little bit late because of that indecisiveness. You didn't know if a fight was actually going to break out. You don't want to just bust out that GP ultimate without having the certainty that somebody is going to commit to a fight. So let's see how it actually played out again, because it starts off with a nice hook onto Keith, and I thought the arrow would come out right away, stacked onto Keith, because, well, you could burst them down. It would still do damage despite it getting the cleanse. Instead, they focus on the Chime. He doesn't have that summoner, but if Keith had actually hit that ultimate, I think that fight would have looked a lot different.
Yeah, I actually really like what both ADs did there, just getting aggressive with their flash and, you know, trying to decisively win the engagement. It does turn out that it's a bit of a trade back and forth, but I think the right idea certainly in either case. But it doesn't take away from how far ahead Keith is individually, which I think the other thing that emboldened him to make that play. Again, you reminded me, Crumbs, it's not just that Potluck had a bad time in the early game because of what happened at level 1. This Karma in this matchup having blue buff actually made bottom lane so lopsided. Like, Keith is still 20 CS ahead in this laning phase, and that has been consistent this entire matchup.
It's so annoying because she gets to have blue buff in the first few waves, and then bases, and now has a Grail. So it's like she never got to run out of mana, but engage onto Keith.
Flashing in, Twisted here as well, but he's kind of next door. Aiko also running around with Soaz. It's Immortals, all 5 in the bot lane. The tower falls down, but the team fight's what matters. Chime is dead. Hard is dead, gonna get dunked out by the Silas. Now Blaze and Keith trying to fight a silent spot, and also ripping through a couple, looking for the play, but not able to get it just yet. And Aiko's still gonna slip out of the zone spot, and lower Blaze finally able to finish off the Silas, but here comes the gold card. Vision is good in the shrubbery. Great stasis there for Gate. Going in golden for the stopwatch, but the chase is not on because the health bars are not enough.
Wow, just a big party in the bottom lane. Everybody trying to make it down there, and Keith ends up surviving despite Gate going in. Still had the cleanse from the earlier scrap, and I think that's really what kept him alive there, because everybody else came in. It looks like there was a big confusion as to who was going to be focused in that fight. There was a lot of targets to go for, a lot of low health, and in those situations, you usually have a lot of people calling for different people to focus on. It's rare that you have teams that have a very decisive shot caller during the heat of the moment in these fights to say, this target, and then you move on from one to the other that way. And it was clear that Immortals didn't have that, and they end up losing it.
Yeah, another dragon as a result over to Golden Guardian, so make it 2 now, as it is Ocean Soul and Ocean Rift for a yet another game. I know Flowers is a big fan of this one, but it's also among the strongest souls, if not the strongest.
Maybe he likes it because it's got flowers all the time.
Ooh!
Hey, it's flowers.
Makes sense.
Big engage onto the Aphelios, but then I wonder what ended up happening with the focus. I feel like you could have gone on to Keith and taken him out right away, since Soaz did still have that ultimate, so low mana, low damage at this stage in the game, and the Herald right behind him puts a timer on how long Immortals can chase him. That stopwatch actually ended up being really good. It saved his life. It was one of those great instances of a stopwatch usage that so often we criticize, of using it just to stall your death and not get a lot of value out of it. Gate, great moment to use it.
Yeah, arguably saved everyone as well. Another very quick go card here for Blaze Olive. Stuns the Volibear as they come in, and that is enough to save himself. And Blaze Olive has been on top of it so far with the Twisted Fate. 2-1-1. Looking good with the Rotovaders charging up. Even had a stopwatch of his own in case it went more pear-shaped. Top lane, though, is where the action is happening. Oh, it's Aiko. Excuse me, it's the Silas. Surprise! He's going to dive the tower, but Blaze Olive will follow with the TP, and Aiko's just dead.
Surprise Pinata, please blow me up. I'm full of gold and ready to deliver it. That's kind of what that ultimate looked like. But you see the idea of what the Silas wants to do. You get to shove out the Twisted Fate from the lane, and then you go in a gank, but should have also known that that was a trap. You have full vision of the enemy when you pop the TF ultimate. So he walks into it thinking that the rest of the team is going to follow up. They do not. They also see the enemy and say, we're not going to take these kinds of fights with you, and they just they save what they can, but here comes another.
Yeah, here's the real Twisted Fate ultimate, gonna stun him out. A great face breaker there for Hard, and this should be a 2 for Gate, just getting chased down, rooted up by the Karma Q, W, slow there from the Karma Q, and a Blaze Olive cleans house in the top lane. In fact, Keith with the shot crumbs already spinning is gonna be able to take down this tower as well. So the early game we talked about, crumbs from Golden Guardians, that's looked better in the second half of the split versus their first, is looking really good this game.
They are actually adding multiple lanes to their playbook now. Before, a lot of it was about focusing around Zion, and if it was one of those earlier 5 games, I would not have been surprised if we just spent 4 repeat ganks trying to dive Soaz, but instead using the TF to roam around the map and focus on the bottom lane when they have created such a strong advantage for themselves from that level 1 is a great place to fight, because you know you're going to win so many of those fights. It's what the marksmen, this is what they always preach about. It's saying, listen, I'm really strong. We cannot lose a fight that we take straight up if we have equal numbers against the enemy. Just continue to hover around me and fight with me, and we'll win every single fight. And that's the stage where Keith is right now. Has the IE completed, has a nice farm lead, and with a Karma around him and Cleanse to keep him safe, as long as you've got equal numbers and Keith is there, Golden Guardians will win.
I think even just thinking about, you know, Kid Summer and how he said himself at the very start of the split that he was taking some time to adjust back to being an AD because, of course, he was a support for all of Spring, both in LCS and Academy. But he was, you know, an absolute force in Academy when he was last playing bot lane. And I think this game and more recent games has finally kind of solidified Keith being back to his old role, because he looks like the same forward-flashing, aggressive, lane-dominant player that he was in Academy who was playing on Cloud9. As Chime is in trouble, good flash. Going to get himself out from under the Nautilus hook. So as though running down hard. But there's the set ult from Silas. That's a mouthful. So plays Oliver will miss the gold card that time. Barriers up though thanks to the spellbook, and he's going to be fine.
So the Silas is starting to get strong enough to actually burst down the TF by himself. This is a really scary point in Immortals' composition if the Silas can actually control the side lanes that much. And that kind of control might be what gets Golden Guardians scared from the Herald, but because Keith is there, equal number fights is not what Immortals can take right now. The Aphelios is too strong, and his weapons are some of the deadliest in these fights right now. Infernum with the Chakrams is just a complete AoE massacre.
Yeah, Keith again, far too powerful here. So IMT going to set up a trap on the right-hand side of mid lane. There is a dragon up in 15 seconds, so IMT, I think, waiting for that. Blazolive also rejoins mid with Lichbane now finished, so he's very strong himself. But IMT are committing to this flank here. If they TF ulti, it's going to be up, and they already get spotted. Mid lane actually just the play. They run straight down for turret number 1.
Okay, there's GP ulti on Ica, so they're ready to team fight. They're just looking for the opportunity.
So is Golden Guardian, so is a Blazolive, sped forward by Karma. Looks with the gold card out, and they're going to pick a fight around this next dragon here, the first of our Soul Dragons this game. But GG, they push up mid lane. They know they've got Keith here. As you keep saying, Crumbs, like, there should be an opportunity where Golden Guardians can feel confident in taking a team fight.
They don't want to get CC'd to death. That's the biggest danger. And engaging here would be good for Golden Guardians. The rest of Immortals is not lined up. Ica is looking for an angle, and he hasn't actually crossed wards, but he might just leave this fight to go for a minion wave, which gives Golden Guardians control over mid, and they can then go back to the Dragon Zone and control this area entirely. Barrels are so annoying in controlling these zones. And yep, looks like with the setup, this should be Golden Guardians' fight if one happens.
Yep, you can see the speed train has, I think, caused a little bit of a wrinkle in Golden Guardians walking straight into the pit, but they're going to have whatever they want here, a fight or start of this Drake. They're actually going to do both at the same time here, but are going to get spotted. The pinch is coming in from IMT, and in the front line, it's Hard trying to tank up what he can. The Haymaker charge up fully, and Hard's going to go down to Keith. The dunk as Potluck moves into the backline, but that's not nearly enough to win that team fight. It's 2-0 already for Golden Guardians. Keith looking to try and make it a third. Already burnt his ulti, but Golden Guardians 2 kills on Dragon. They'll take it.
From the setup, we had the bird's eye view to see that Golden Guardians was going to win that fight. It was just such a perfect position for them to easily retreat into their own jungle without fearing a flank. Immortals needs to attack from multiple angles, and they couldn't find that. Maybe if Aika would have gone into Golden Guardians' jungle and actually struck from that side, it might have looked better, but Gate gets picked off right away, and if Nautilus is forced to engage not on his own terms, it looks really bad, and that's what happened. Now they are going to be on Soul Point pretty early, right? It's going to be a 25-minute Soul threatened, which with the third Ocean Soul of this day, it's just, I mean, it usually tends to be GG to give this one up, as nobody has been able to itemize any sort of healing reduction.
Yeah, especially how quickly it's going to come in here. Soul's going to be up in, around the 25-minute mark at this rate, and Keith is showing no signs of slowing down on the itemization. Has the Hurricane now done as well. Golden Guardian is just going to move through the left-hand side of the map and find whatever pressure they can, especially with the map this open. I mean, Immortals have 0 towers taken right now. Like, this should be, if nothing else, Twisted Fate's time to shine. Like, he can be anywhere on this map when Golden Guardians are pressing forward, so it should be a very easy 1-3-1 here.
TPing behind Immortals here would be super dangerous, and they could even win this 3v4. This is probably Aphelios' strongest spike in the game, the Infinity Edge into Hurricane. Like, you're not going to see such a large increase in DPS because it just synergizes so well with all of his abilities. So Immortals needs to be extra careful around this champion right now, and all these melees that don't have any gap closers are just sitting ducks into a feather. They just allow him to stack the Conqueror much faster. For a champion that just wants to have a lot of targets to hit, a lot of beefy boys that are
it is.
are in danger, and so is Soaz.
Just TP'd into the front lines, and that's a kill zones button where the ulti's going to get it. He was right next to his tower, got teleported on, like someone had teleported on by a TF, not ultied, and just gets killed. That feels bad, man, as like launches the Moonlight Vigil, but does not connect.
Nowhere is safe when you're dealing with these globals. This pick, you have to play it right now. Like, if you're going to consider yourself a top team in whatever league, your mid laner needs to have TF in his arsenal. It's just too valuable. It's too good at disrupting the way that team fighters want to play. You can play those 1v1s, you can help your jungler out too much. It's a must pick, and honestly, in a lot of games, it's starting to become a must ban as well.
Well, Blaze Oliver's gone back since that last engagement, and, you know, stopped by at the shop at the airport or whatever. It's got some new reading material. It's got a Magi's with 10 stacks already. We'll see how many pages he can add to that book, but a show of confidence, certainly, that Golden Guardians are very far ahead in this game. And the gold lead reflects that as well. They're up, what, 7,000, 8,000 gold, somewhere in that region?
So I think the Magi's trend that has increased is a result of what is arguably the best team in the world right now. Over in the LPL, top esports, they did drop a game, but the fascinating thing about them is that their mid laner almost always goes Magi's Knight, and he almost always gets 25 Magi stacks. So all the teams in the world are looking at these guys like, okay, everything they do is going to be really clean, and like the champion pool, they try to emulate a lot of what they do. And Knight, since he's so good and always gets this, people are like, you know what, let's go for it. And when you're trying to snowball games, if you can get yourself some instance of maybe a 10-minute span where you're playing really cleanly, you got the summoner spell book, you get your flashes up, and you can stay alive, you can get those quick stacks and be unstoppable.
I feel like trying to learn optimal mid lane play from Knight is like trying to learn optimal top lane play from the Shy. Like, they are very unique players, and they can do the things they do because of how good they are. Your average player should be looking at the good decisions they make, or like the little like intricacies and matchups they found. Not like, oh, this dude buys franchise every game. Yeah, let's do that.
You're not wrong, although Blaze Olive did have the 10 Dark Seal stack, so he's thinking, I can at least get the movement speed right away, because we could give it to him that he didn't buy it when he didn't have the Steel stacks. Like, that's when I have a problem. When you're buying it, you haven't even gotten Dark Steel stacks, and you're still going for the Magi's, like at 1 or 2, thinking that, all right, I'm going to pop off. That's a little ambitious, but when you have the record somewhat already there, I can respect it a little more.
Yeah. Big Knight fan. Love the guy. Incredible mid laner, but it is always fun to see the influence of top players leak everywhere else around the world. But like you said, I think this is actually a pretty sensible purchase. On the not-so-sensible side is IMT starting this Baron. This is kind of their only option. We're going to trade for this Ocean Soul here, but I don't think they're going to get away with it. Crumb's GP ult's already spotted them, and they didn't even have the Cho'Gath to potentially consume that. So they're going to turn instead. They stun up hard. That's not the best target to hit, and now they have no game plan.
Yeah, you're totally right. There is no game plan here. The game plan ended at, okay, we can't get Baron. That's it. That was the play, and they forgot that Gangplank can do that to you, right? He can just stop your entire take. You don't actually have a very fast Baron. Yes, Ashe has that Bork and can be useful for it, but the rest of your picks aren't particularly the best Baron takers, especially not Cho, Volibear, or Silas. So it was a look, but as long as Golden Guardians knew that it was something that Immortals would try, they were never in fear of actually going for a trade. They're too far ahead to go for any trade. Every objective should belong to them.
Yeah, I also think that, like, you know, it is a play that I understand why they made it, and I don't fault them at all for it, but I think this does amplify your point, Crumbs, about, like, why Twisted Fate is so powerful. Because, same thing, like, that play against a lot of other mid laners, you can maybe get away with, right? Especially if your team is a bit better at taking Baron, or everyone's there and can commit instantly to the play to try and trade. But all the Blaze Olive has to do is, like, think in the back of his brain, oh, are they on Baron? And just hit R. Doesn't even have to TP there. Just hit R. See everyone and be like, oh, this is easy.
Exactly. Like, it gives you so much information for your decision making that oftentimes all that information is everything you need to actually make the right call. You don't need to TP and make a flank, especially later into the game when you have the Aphelios and all you need to do is stay grouped. You are totally fine to just make sure that the enemy is not doing anything fishy, since your game plan is right on track. And Ika gets to live, but
Ooh, good buff.
so does Gate.
Yeah, nice hook there. Had to flash as well, so like still a pretty valuable attempt there by Golden Guardians. Really didn't have to use very many cooldowns. And they're just trying to create space in this top side of the map for this Baron, because as we noted, they did get that Ocean Soul. But Gate getting out of there, making sure the Q was traveling towards the wall before the gold card came in. IMT trying to get their first tower of this game to Crumbs. They do have 5 kills, but that's about all they've been able to get given here. And Golden Guardians just in. What a great Q by Chime. Soa's going to be the target. TP in, good double rupture into the depth charge, not bad at all. Now Ake is in the middle of the entire team, and I don't know what the getaway plan is. I guess there isn't any. Keith on a rampage takes down kill number 5.
Not the TP you would have liked to see going into the middle of 5 members when your team is retreating. This is definitely the Baron for them. Soas doesn't have Flash, doesn't have Splash Cone. He can't possibly get in here. And this team just has such a hard time getting into Golden Guardians. The Kaisa, the Karma, the Aphelios, and TF do such a good job.
Oh my goodness, he's so fast. Blaze Olive is just like power boosting towards the rest of IMT. They don't even have the Baron yet. They'll kill Soas before that. 3 members of Golden Guardians are chasing the rest of Immortals back to their base. The Blaze Olive's already flashed in. That would end this game, Crumbs. As he's on a rampage, he'll take down Altec. And with the Baron now finished, they'll take down this top side as well.
So they're going to go for 2 inhibs off of this push. First the top side, and now the Set and Aphelios are crashing in the mid turret. Or are they going to just join up with the squad to try to end together? Aphelios is, and so is Hard, so they want to just get out of here.
Yeah, Blaze Olive 18 stacks, rapid fire cannon, Potluck going to get clipped there with a gold card. And this is going to be GG here for GG. So it's going to chase him back to the fountain. Stormbringer into your own fountain is never the look you want to see, but IMT just been smashed by Golden Guardians Academy here, as they'll take another very good-looking win once the formalities of partying in the base have subsided. That is so much damage, as IMT aren't even allowed to leave their fountain, but the Nexus will be felled, and Golden Guardians Academy will pick up the job as, oh goodness, that barrel. Game over indeed, as the emotes are flashed.
I don't know if it's game over. I'm not sure Immortals even played in the first place. They just got completely rolled over. It was hard to watch the Volibear jungle this game, but Golden Guardians did a great job abusing that, and from that lead, they just never let go, which is exactly what you need to do in this current meta. You get hold of it, and you just ride it till the end.
I cannot get the image of a Blaze Olive TPing with the home guard buff and just like zooming towards the rest of the team while two other people are trying to finish up Baron. That was a fun one. We are going to take a break, but on the other side, we'll be hearing from one of the victorious players, so don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the Verizon post-game interview where I'm joined by Golden Guardians mid laner Ablaze Olive. That was a game, my friend. How you feeling?
Feeling good. Another TF game, another W in the books, it seems.
Yeah, I mean, tell me actually about your matchup. I was kind of curious. Like, I know your Twisted Fade's obviously very good. It's a pick we've seen a lot in the meta, but Sylas is a counter pick that I hadn't seen yet. So, do you have any thoughts on like how good Sylas could potentially be into TF? Because it does feel very difficult to contain how much map pressure TF applies.
Yeah, I think Sylas was something that people were picking up a lot more these past few weeks. Sylas into TF specifically, I personally don't think it's like that insane of a counter pick because the way that the hijack alt CD works is that it's like a 6-minute cooldown on the TF ulti. And in this game, like the first TF ulti he stole, he didn't actually use, so like he just had like no way to copy my ulti. I think Sylas, like it's really important to have like really good ultimates. And that's like the most important thing to have when you're picking Sylas. So I think he's definitely one of the good picks into TF, but I think it's like much more about like which really good ultimates he can steal.
Makes sense, and there was quite a lot of pressure actually thrown your way that game. The first ult steal you mentioned actually was because of a dive that you very narrowly escaped. So were you feeling like you were getting picked on there in mid lane?
Not really. I think it's a pretty common strategy to go like try to kill the global. I think I got really lucky this game with how I survived 2 ganks with like sub 100 HP. So I was really fortunate there. Usually I die once to the gank, so it was good that I didn't this time. But yeah, I think it was just like a common strategy to go for the global.
Yeah, and then in general, just kind of thinking about Golden Guardians right now, pretty good first half, even better second half, especially with games like these. And I felt like in the first half of the split, you guys were playing a lot around top lane, and I felt like you were left to like play a support or play a global or like do that kind of thing. Do you feel like you have a little bit more of the spotlight now as the team has kind of figured out how they want to be playing together?
Yeah, I think for sure. We had some issues in the early part of the split, like trying to get like Chime like up to the level where he can start landing. We had some issues, but he's done really well, improved a lot over the past few weeks, and we've had like a lot more like consistent early games, so we can practice like more complex strategies, and that has definitely expanded to like me being able to pick more like unique champions, and I'm glad that I could pick some more uniques up. But I mean, if they leave open TF, I'll just first pick it every good time, you know, like I don't know.
Yeah. Seems like a pretty easy one, and just a great game for you today. Congratulations on your win.
Thank you very much.
All right, well, thank you for joining us, but we've still got one more game cooking before we call it an evening, so don't go too far.